The birth of the hymn Precious Lord. These are Thomas Andrew Dorsey's words. It's not the same Tommy Dorsey that some people think of. This is taken from Guidepost 1987. Back in 1932, I was a fairly new husband. My wife Nettie and I were living in a little apartment on Chicago's South Side. One hot August afternoon, I had to go to St. Louis, where I was to be the featured soloist at a large revival meeting. I didn't want to go. Nettie was in the last month of pregnancy with our first child, but a lot of people were expecting me at St. Louis. I kissed Nettie goodbye, clattered downstairs to our Model A, and in a fresh Lake Michigan breeze, chugged out of Chicago on Route 66. However, outside the city, I discovered that in my anxiety at leaving, I had forgotten my music case. I wheeled around and headed back. I found Nettie sleeping peacefully. I hesitated by her bed. Something was strongly telling me to stay, but eager to get on my way and not wanting to disturb Nettie, I shrugged off the feeling, quietly slipped out of the room with my music. The next night, in the steaming St. Louis heat, the crowd called on me to sing again and again. When I finally sat down, a messenger ran up with a Western Union telegram. I ripped open the envelope. Pasted on the yellow sheet were the words, "Your wife just died." People were happily singing and clapping around me, but I could hardly keep from crying out. I rushed to a phone and called home. All I could hear on the other end was, "Nettie is dead. Nettie is dead." When I got back, I learned that Nettie had given birth to a boy. I swung between grief and joy. Yet that same night, the baby died. I buried Nettie and our little boy together in the same casket. Then I fell apart. For days, I closeted myself. I felt that God had done me an injustice. I didn't want to serve him anymore or write gospel songs. I just wanted to go back to that jazz world I once knew so well. But then, as I hunched alone in that dark apartment those first sad days, I thought back to the afternoon I went to St. Louis. Something kept telling me to stay with Nettie. Was that something God? Oh, if I had paid more attention to him that day, I would have stayed and been with Nettie when she died. From that moment on, I vowed to listen more closely to him. But I was still lost in grief. Everyone was kind to me, especially one friend. Following Saturday evening, he took me up to Maloney's Porto College, a neighborhood music school. It was quiet. The late evening sun crept through the curtained windows. I sat down at the piano. My hands began to browse over the keys. Something happened to me then. I felt at peace. It felt as though I could reach out and touch God. I found myself playing a melody. Once in my head, they just seemed to fall into place. Precious Lord, take my hand. Lead me on, let me stand. I'm tired, I'm weak, I am worn. Through the storm, through the night, lead me on to the light. Take my hand, precious Lord, lead me home. The Lord gave me these words and melody. He also healed my spirit. I learned that when we are in our deepest grief, when we feel farthest from God, this is when he is closest, and when we are most open to his restoring power. So I go on living for God willingly and joyfully until that day comes when he will take me and gently lead me home. Matthew 14:22-33. Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side, while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up to the mountainside by himself to pray.
When evening came, he was there alone, but the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it.
During the fourth watch of the night, Jesus went up to them, walking on the lake.
When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. They said,
"It's a ghost," and cried out in fear.
but Jesus immediately said to them,
"Take courage,
Peter replied,
Lord, if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water.
he said,
Come. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus.
but when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out,
Lord, save me.
Immediately Jesus reached out his hand, caught him, and said,
You of little faith,
Why did you doubt? And quickly climbed into the boat, the wind died down.
Then those who were in the boat worshipped him, saying, Truly you are the Son of God. We sing hymn 451, Precious Lord, Take My Hand. Revelation 21, 1 to 8. Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth. First the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and there was no longer any sea.
I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride beautifully dressed for her husband.
And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying,
Now the dwelling of God is with men, and he will live with them. They will be his people, and God himself will be with them and be their God. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, for the old order of things has passed away.
He who was seated on the throne said,
I am making everything new. Write this down, for these words are trustworthy and true.
He said to me,
It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To him who is thirsty, I will give to drink without cost from the spring of the water of life.
who overcomes will inherit all this, and I will be his God, and he will be my son. But the cowardly, the unbelieving, the vile, the murderers, the sexually immoral, those who practice magic arts, the adulterers, and all liars, their place will be in the fiery lake of burning sulfur. This is the second death. We sing Jerusalem the Golden. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord look with favor upon you and give you peace.